Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are going to look at the next endgame study explained, which is our 14th position of endgame study. So we can see that in this position already white has achieved a lot more than black. The white king is ahead and it is able to attack the black pawns very easily. We see the black king is behind and it is only able to protect its pawns. White has got a good pawn structure, all his pawns are on different files. Black has got doubled pawns on the F file. So the pawn structure is slightly weakened. Two obvious moves which come to mind are kg7 and e6. Initially when we look at the position, it looks like both will win the game, but only one of them is correct. After the most obvious move e6, when we see that after f6, white is able to penetrate into the position. White goes kg7, and now even if we allow the opponent to take a distant opposition, we see after the move king f8, kd8, kf7, the black king is not having the d7 square. So the pawn on e7 would be lost and the e pawn will promote to queen. The main variation happens to be the move fe6, when white can set a dangerous trap with the move king g6. Now what happens here is after the move ke8, white goes kg7, and wherever the black king moves, white gets the opposition. So after kd8, king f8, kd7, kf7, kd6, we see the final phase of the plan. After opposition, we get the king into the opponent's territory. This procedure is called outflanking. The king moves from the side, and now we see that if king moves away, e7 would be lost and eventually e6 will also be lost. The race of pawns or the race of the kings towards the pawns will fail. After the move kc6, ke7, kb5, ke6, king c4, kf5, kc3, white just has the move ke5 and his f pawn queens first. So black is way behind in his race. Thus after ke8, the only alternative is e5. When after de check, here also note that after fe ke6, white will lose because the f pawn is unstoppable then. So de5 check, ke6, trying to support the e7 pawn, and now just kd8 or f8, both work. Now forced king f7, kd7, and we see that black is unable to keep the opposition, hence he is going to lose lot of pawns. After king f8, there will be ke6 followed by kd5, and the c pawn would prevail. And after the move e6, white has kd6. When again after the king moves, e6 is lost and the game is over. But after the move kg6, black has the only correct move, which is kc8. The point is, with the king on c8, black is waiting and seeing where white wants to come. So we see the four squares from which the white king wants to approach these pawns. So these two are main, f8 and f7. Now what happens? To f7, black plays kd7, gaining the opposition. White has no pawn move to waste, and after kf8 again kd8, and this keeps on repeating. And after the move kg7 also, black has only correct move kc7, maintaining the distant opposition, and this distant opposition helps him to get the normal opposition. Now after king f8, again kd8, kf7, kd7, kg8, again setting a trap, only move king c8, and we see that it's drawn. At this point we may also note that when the kings are on g7 and c7 squares, black has to do is maintain the distance. So whenever king f7 comes, he needs kd7, whenever king f8 comes, he needs kd8, and the game would be drawn. Hence the only correct way to win is kg7, first forcing black to go ke8. Now after f6, e6 also wins, but white can just take ef6, kf6, and take the pawn on f5, kd7, kf5, kd6, king g6, king goes to the 6th rank and the king is ready to escort his pawn to the queening square and white will win the game. After kg7, only move king e8, protecting the pawn on f7, and now white plays the move e6. Now what we see, f6 is played, white just takes the opposition with kg8, king f8, kd8, king has to leave the e7 pawn and the e pawn queens. After e6, fe6 post and again kg8. Now we see wherever the black king goes, white gets the opposition. So after kd8, kf8, very important move, kf7 would allow the opposition and the game would be drawn. So after kd8, king f8, kd7, kf7, and again we see the outflanking maneuver after kd6, ke8, and the lines transpose now. After kc6, we can just take ke7, kb5, ke6, kc4, king into f5, kc3, ke5, and the f pawn queens. And as we discussed before, now the move e5, d, ke6, when king f8 and d8 both lead to win for black. After king f8, d4, cd4, king d5, king into e7, king d4, just king f6 attacking the pawn on f5, and after ke4 we see that e6, kf4, e7, kg4, e8 queens. When the pawn is way behind, even if the pawn would have been on 7th rank, the king is far away, still white would have won the game. So the position is winning for white. So I hope you are finding these endgames useful and instructive. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.